But speaking of dreams, man, I never dreamt I was going to make the playoffs and for the belt.
Nice. Yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
ridiculous.
I hope you win it all. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to happen. But yeah, man, it's actually pretty exciting. I don't know how to chat with those guys. I can't hit the morning shift with them, so I'm just behind
Oh,
by the
gotcha.
time I get caught up.
Yeah.
But I'm sending my love and my shit talking.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough References. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty domination. How is it going over there, Daniel?
Oh man, it's going domination forward.
Let's
It's
go.
going great, man. It's mostly playoff time.
No.
You know,
Yep.
I missed the playoffs in two leagues on like a
Oof.
last week, 5 to 10 point loss or whatever. So
Hmm.
breaks my heart. But hey, man, the big dog before the belt, I snuck in sixth place.
You
So let's
did.
ride.
That's awesome. Hopefully you can take it all the way. That'd be fun. I don't want any repeat
It's
champions until we've all done it, unless it's
until
me, of
yeah,
course.
until year 13. Jesus.
But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, playoffs are heating up. It's a fun time.
Hmm.
But we think you're pretty solidified probably where you want to go, at least in terms of how you're going to construct your rosters for the playoffs. You're kind of there. Trade deadlines are done in most leagues, and except the new wave of leagues that don't want any trade deadline, which hey, if you're in one of those, go get some guys. But so we're thinking we were going to have a little bit of fun over the next couple of weeks, give out some fantasy pseudo awards to position groups, and kind of just free flowing conversation talking about these guys, getting our opinions, and looking a little bit forward to next year. So with all that being said, you want to go ahead and just hit us with our first category, and then we'll just go for there.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Awards. That's like the most obscure awards you'll ever run into. But we're starting off the first category here is who was a surprising running back that had success
Mm.
in 2023? So the most surprising or just someone who just surprised you. And I put Rashad White,
Oh
man.
wow, so did I.
Oh fuck. That's yeah. Knew it
Hey,
was
that
coming.
mind meld, RDR mind meld.
Hell yeah. Well, then we can riff on this, man. You don't have to wait your turn. We can just all jump in together. But I'm just gonna go out there and say, you know, he's RB4 and he's fifth in receptions
Hmm.
and tied with Mixon for fifth in rush attempt. And my big note from last year was the yards per carry were a little disappointing
Hmm.
at 3.7. Lo and behold, he's 3.7 this year as well. It just so happens to be getting top five volume, and that's translating into I don't know, top five fantasy backs. So I don't know, slap me with some knowledge.
No, I mean I'm with you, and the only danger for him next season is if they bring in another guy to take away this the attempts he's getting, because the second most attempts by another running back in that room is 29, and he has 201. So he's
But
just completely lapping the field. But he's doing it super well. I mean, like you're saying, the rushing efficiency hasn't gone up, but that's not who we ever thought he was going to be. And honestly, it's not that terrible for how that offense is run for him to be getting 3.7. I mean, it's not great, but he does has seven total touchdowns, so he's got a nose for the end zone, and only and five of those are on the ground, which is where
right.
you would think he would be cleaning up through the air, but he's really not. Only two. But he is getting that extra yardage, 419 yards through the air and 9 yards per reception. He's just, I think he's been really efficient with the workload he's given. And kind of in the next category, it'll be a similar idea, but I don't know that the Bucks are good enough to be investing in the running back position next year. They got to worry about, okay, are we rolling with Baker Mayfield? What are we doing with Mike Evans? What's going on with Chris Godwin? All these things. So like maybe they bring in somebody, but you might get one more really, really solid season out of Rashad White. And a guy we were telling you a few weeks ago to sell, I may hang on to him because he's just been so kind of consistently productive for you this year. But it's a tough one because he really has been getting ridiculous usage.
Yeah, it's over the top. And you mentioned the efficiency. So last year he was 5.8 yards per catch, and now he's up to 9. And he's got a 90% catch rate. He's only, it's like 53 targets, 48 catches.
Yep.
It's pretty incredible. But kind of like what you're saying is, we forecasted Tampa Bay to be in the Bijan lottery if he fell.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were running that scenario. So for us to be like most excited about Sean Tucker potentially as like the only other name in a room
Mm-hmm.
full of guys that never really got their run, it kind of lends it to something happening in the way of competition in this backfield, because it's not really the NFL's way to be like, hey, we've got this one guy, and this is how we're
Mm-hmm.
doing it now. That's not how it runs. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed, man. When Lenny, got released, it was like, hey, what's going to happen? And it's not like he's absorbed like the sum of their stats. He's really on pace to have as many targets as Leonard Fournette had last year. So
Mm-hmm.
he's just, I don't know, man. He's just making it happen. It's pretty swell. So love to see it. Oh man, how many of the same guys are we gonna do tonight?
We'll see. Hopefully not a ton. I
I
don't know how lovely or how good of content that would be, but I do
Oh,
just
it'd be
want to throw
great.
one more name, Kyron Williams. Just, I mean,
Oh,
he
of
came out of
course.
nowhere. Um, Kind of beat a dead horse on that one a little bit, but yeah, he was electric this season as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's another guy that I've been optimistic about the future just
Hmm.
because the Rams are so strange. But I mean, it's working, so let's roll with it. But let's see. How about, who do you have some hope for the future? Mm.
Yeah, so I those of the that have listened to this podcast, this might make them laugh, and we'll see how it goes. But I think similar to what I said about Rashad White, I don't think the Panthers are good enough to go into the running back market next season. It just wouldn't really make sense. They need an offensive line if they're going to road with Bryce Young, which they have to because they invested so much into him. They need weapons for Bryce Young. So I don't think running back is one of these positions. And I think you can get Chuba Hubbard pretty cheap. And I think he could have a good year next year. I don't think he'll be like top 10, probably not even top 15, but I could see him teasing the late teens and early 20s. He's been really good this year, and that's 2 seasons in a row of PFF grades higher than 80 and in the rushing category. Like he's been good. He's a decent age, 25 years old. He's on the last year of his rookie deal. And there's not an out on Miles Sanders' contract until 2025 either. So they're not going to touch that RB room. They've got those two guys locked in. They might bring in like, I don't know, like a late round rookie or like an undrafted guy, but I can't imagine them investing into it right now. So I think you could see the more efficient of the two guys because Chuba Hubbard has outplayed Miles Sanders this year. I think you could see him as a starting running back last year, and he hasn't been terrible in that role. Do I think he's going to be a league winner next year? No. But do I think in maybe like these 0 RB drafts, this is a guy you could get fairly late or trade in a dynasty for fairly cheap who could actually be consistently good for you? Yeah, I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. Tell me I'm crazy.
No, you're not crazy. I mean, you're crazy. That's nuts. Man, if only the Panthers had watched RDR. I mean, we told you Stroud was the dude.
That's true.
Of course, they didn't listen, and that's okay. But yeah, no, everything you said about Chuba is 100% real, and they can't afford to go fishing in the running back market. So why not? Why not run with the guy who's doing pretty decent? He's RB 28 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, The guy I'm going to talk about is the RB 15,
Okay.
and it's Brian Robinson, baby.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
fair.
doing it. I'm doing it again. Yeah, so it's about efficiency for him. It's unexpected efficiency. Let's see. He is in receiving yards ranked ninth. In targets, he is ranked 23rd. So that's
Oof.
a pretty sizable gap right
Yeah.
there. And it's easy to see why there's such a gap because yards per out run, he is tied for third with Aaron Jones, only behind Alvin Kamara and Brees Hall. And this guy is second in the league on yards per catch as a running back at 11.2.
Mm.
So it's pretty incredible. And on a fantasy points per game basis, he is pretty much mirroring Kenneth Walker,
Oh well.
which I wouldn't have bet on. So that's pretty spicy. This all goes into, a little preview for later. Antonio Gibson's on the last year of his rookie deal.
Hmm.
And yeah, man. I know we talked about Robinson a few weeks ago, and you mentioned you thought he might be currently at his highest value.
Hmm.
And since you said that, he's just gone and has underperformed a little bit and dealt with some injuries. So I don't know, man. It could be a sneaky good time to try and weasel him away if you're in one of those strange leagues without a trade deadline or whatever the kids are doing these days. Um, but I think that if Eric Bieniemy can maintain, a job with the Washington team,
Hmm.
and that whole system has some continuity going into next year, I think you could see Eric Bieniemy deliver on his past pedigree and his work with Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson. You know what I mean? Because Brian Robinson's doing great on the ground. He's doing pretty well, but the surprise pass catching work has just been unreal.
Yeah.
Um, and you talk about Chuba, man. This is crazy. I was hoping you brought him up because these guys are like they're separated in snaps by less than five, in carries by less than like 10. Their yards on the ground are basically the same. Yards per attempt the same. Everything's the same. Targets are the same. Catches are the same. Brian Robinson's got a few more touchdowns and that better efficiency in the pass catching game. But yeah, like we're basically talking about the same guy, just on different teams. A team in Washington that gave away some high caliber defense that they're going to need to restock in
Hmm.
next year's draft, and likely won't be chasing a running back as well. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of mirroring conversation going on there.
Yeah, I think it's there's something to be said for these maybe one-off running back seasons or two running back seasons. Like maybe he's not your superstar that you build around Brian Robinson, but if you can get another year out of him where they don't bring in another guy and they have to use him in the pass and the run, like you could really take off. I mean, like you look at a guy like Raheem Mostert this year, or even potentially Rashad White or somebody like that. You can take advantage of that if you have the right roster, and now he leads your RB2 spot or whatever. So I'm with you there. I do like it. I think it'd be good.
Hell yeah. So what about do you got an affordable older back who's still got a little gas in the tank?
I do, and I feel like the world is out on Joe Mixon for some
Yeah.
reason, and I he's the RB6 right now. I
Oh
know
yeah.
he hasn't like looked maybe as incredible, but he's on pace for over 50 catches. He's already over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Like I said, he's already the RB6. I think you could conceivably get him for a second. And spoiling earlier, he is one of the guy, or spoiling later, he's potentially a guy that gets cut by the Bengals this offseason and goes to a new offense. But unlike, like, say, Dalvin Cook, I think Joe Mixon could be a guy that goes to another offense and does pretty well. I mean, it depends on where he's going to go, but I think he's got enough juice in the tank. And maybe it's biased because I just watched him in Cincinnati on Sunday, but I think he looked really good against the Colts. He's still a strong runner. He may not be the guy that he used to be, and he's not going to be like your RB2. But if you get him, especially during the draft for like a later second, and then kind of ship him out and have him as your RB3 or something, I think he could be really useful on rosters next season. Maybe not after next season, but at least one more.
Hey, I like it, man. Yeah, I was not nearly as out on him as the entire world was this past off season. Chase Brown, I get it, but come on now. Um, so yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I like that. That makes me happy actually. I got one for you though.
Okay.
It might make you happy. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how much of this you have to cut, but I'm going for it. Okay. Stop me if you heard this before. Okay. Yes, you are in multiple leagues with me that I've just traded for this player, so you're probably ready for it. But I'm going James Conner, man.
Mm,
I'm going for James Conner. And I want you to hear me out. I want you to listen about this guy. He's got the power to transform a dynasty league. Yeah,
hmm.
you were there in 2018 when a man named Mike was grinning widely about to completely destroy his dynasty startup draft. He was smiling with glee and the doubts that Le'Veon Bell was going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers the coming year. And when he smashed the draft button, oh, he fell prey to the glitchy Flea Flicker app and selected none other than Connor Cook. At the time, quarterback for the Raiders, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, and how devastated was he when James Conner did not make it back to him at the next round? Oh, it led to a situation where he abandoned his team
Mm,
after that year, devastated by the lack of James Conner on his team. And it was one of three orphan teams, created a situation where a savvy owner, Davey, could swoop in a botched three-team draft. Davey was able to amass a powerful team riddled
yeah,
with
it's
extra
true.
first-round picks and a cunning approach to trading. Davey quickly rose to the top, baby. But this week, in the first round of the For the Bell playoffs, Davey, you got something coming at you, buddy. And that is James Conner, homie, because he's on my squad now.
Let's go.
So, the player who may have created the opportunity for you to join this league will now give you the opportunity to watch the rest of the playoffs on the sideline coming at you. Yeah,
Love
because
it.
James Conner ain't done, man. Yeah, he's
Mm,
missed time every year. Every year. He's sitting low. He's a RB30 right now. But he still gets the job done. I got to tell you, this season in 9 games, he's fourth among all rushers with 19 broken tackles. That's pretty impressive. There's only
hmm.
two players to have less touches than James Conner and double-digit broken tackles. That's Jameer Gibbs, who's got 11 on 100 and
Mm,
28. So comparing that to 19, Connor's got 129 attempts. And then there's Jalen Warren, also known as James Conner 2.0, who's got 20 on only 109 carries. So we'll just brush that aside. And look at Connor, he's breaking tackles, of course, just covered that, but he's also forcing missed tackles. He's fifth in the league. And that equals great yards after contact. He is at 3.64 right now, and that's fourth best in the league. So he's crushing it as a runner purely. I mean, he's got some work to do in the receiving game, if I'm being honest. But as a 28-year-old, I believe with the time he's missed, he may have, a little bit more in the tank, give you a couple more years. He only has 4 touchdowns this year. That's very low for the big JC. But I think that efficiency can get you somewhere in the future as the Cardinals start to ascend a little bit and level out a little consistency with Kyler as their quarterback next year. Don't get it twisted. So yeah, man, I think James Conner. to the moon, baby.
That's fair. And I mean, he can't be that terribly expensive. I think people are gonna think Father Time catches up with him this next season, but he keeps doing it, man, and he keeps producing. So can't disparage the pick or the guy. So I don't know. I think he might be onto something. You never know. He could just keep the gravy train rolling, like someone like Derrick Henry this year, where you keep thinking, I mean, maybe not to that level quite, but like you keep thinking he's going to go out and he just keeps
I can
doing
dream.
it.
Whew, how many times did I say James Cook during that?
I didn't keep a count. I should have.
Uh,
I'll put a little counter in the video.
at least 20, I imagine. But damn. All right. So who's selling?
I'm selling Austin Eckler, man.
Ooh.
Okay. I want out. I see him cratering next year, especially if he leaves the Chargers, which he may. He's a free agent at the end of the year. It's his worst season efficiency wise, and he's been plagued with injuries. He's currently at his lowest yards after yards after contact per attempt, missed tackles force, receptions, targets, and yards per attempt since 2018. He doesn't look like the same guy to me. When they were playing Green Bay, he had like a what should have been a 65-yard touchdown, and he just looked visibly slower than he used to be, and like he couldn't get there anymore. But I still think he could finish the season strong. I mean, he just put up over 20 points this past week against the Broncos, so he could finish this season out strong and get a team thinking that, oh man, this is going to be the guy that I want next season, the older vet that I can bring in to kind of round out my team. But I think he's going to be this year's or next year's Dalvin Cook. The way people I know leagues where people spent all their fab on Dalvin Cook. They traded for Dalvin Cook as soon as he got signed with the Jets, thinking Brees Hall wouldn't be there. And then he just kind of vanished and hasn't been a factor at all. I think if Austin Eckler leaves the Chargers, there's a good chance that has he has a similar trajectory as Dalvin Cook this year, and I want out of it while I can still get something for him.
Yeah, dude, straight up. I traded for him last year and won a championship off of that trade. Gave up Rashad White to
Yeah.
in that trade. But yeah, now it's time after the season. Gonna have to shop him, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Get him out of here. I'm with you, man. It's kind of sad, you know. Let's just blame Kellen Moore, you know. It
Yeah,
seems like
dude,
that's
what
the
is going
going.
on?
We're just gonna there's so much blame to go around. But all right, I like that, man. That is spicy. I'm going less spicy.
Okay.
All right. I'm going with DeAndre Swift, man.
Okay.
Yeah, running back 18. And he's had some pop games, you know what I mean? He's
Mm-hmm.
got five top 12 games this year. Three of those games, he had at least four catches or more. And that's pretty cool. But in the second half of the season, he hasn't gotten to that four catch mark, and he hasn't had those pop stats. I know he's only 24, but I don't know. He's this is last year with the Eagles. It's a 1 year deal.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not retained by them, I don't know like if that magic follows him. I
I'm with you.
don't really think that it does. And and the reason I think that is not arbitrary, although it started out that way. And PFF has, they've got my back on this one. So let's get into it. The numbers are not as good as his current hype, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 2.5 yards after contact per attempt, which is not great. And it corresponds with a rushing grade of 66. Not really over the moon about that.
Mm-hmm.
You heard me complaining about a 5.8 yards per catch on that Rashad White last year. Not a
Mm-hmm.
good thing. That's what he's rocking right now. And it goes with a receiving grade of a 54 from PFF. So
Oof.
I think it's a little bit of those pop games that are making him spicy. And he seems
Mm-hmm.
like he has like a lot of breakaway runs, but if you break it down, he's got a few big plays. He's not consistently breaking off chunk plays like that. You know for a fact, if he does remain with the Eagles, that 50% of all, inside the five is going through Jalen Hurts as long as they're
Mm-hmm.
pushing on that tush. So There's a cap to his success, and this is the healthiest season he's had as a pro.
Hmm.
So if you're betting on that to be consistent going forward, then you're brave and best of luck to you. But I think I'd sell him right now. Not saying he's a bust, a dud, but I think this might be his peak right now. So let him go.
I think you're on to something there. I mean, I don't know that Philly's going to want to keep him around. I mean, they do have a decent amount of cap space next year. I don't know who all necessarily they have to pay. Maybe I should for this conversation, but I just don't see them wanting to spend money on a running back necessarily. And I do think Swift has been good enough that he could argue for a better contract. But I'm with you. I think without that offensive line and without that team around him, if he goes somewhere where he needs to be the guy, more like he used to have to be in Detroit, I think we'll see similar stuff. And like you're saying, he's not even been that good consistently. It's just these huge weeks make him look a lot better than he really has been.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think yeah, as far as cap space goes in Philly, man, I think they'd probably like to do something about their defense, man.
Yeah, you would think.
Good Lord. Poor guys. Um, well, this is kind of all rattling straight into like a free agency conversation. So
Yeah.
it's a good time to do a little sneak peek. Maybe get on these things before your league mates. That way you can joust for jockey for position on some of these rosters.
Hmm.
So I'll just start the convo. I'm going to go with five guys who are on the last year of their current deals that are kind of the man
Hmm.
for their teams. And you brought up Austin Eckler. You know, his name on this list. We all know he did the podcast circuit trying
Hmm.
to get some money this past off season. I guess that
Did
might
not
have,
work.
yeah.
I guess it kind of worked.
Well, if according to you, man, he's lost a step, so he might have should have been, hitting the elliptical or something. No, I'm just joking. Austin, you live your life. Tony Pollard,
Mm,
he was on the 1 year.
mm,
Josh Jacobs,
mm,
Saquon Barkley. This kind of like these are the four of the same topics wrapped into one there, and then Derrick Henry.
hmm.
So for these guys, it's kind of tough to see their teams willingly letting them go. Maybe Austin Eckler, I don't know, Josh Jacobs. I have no clue, but I feel like Barkley and the Giants are going to work something out.
Hmm.
Derrick Henry, like, come on, let's just, I guess, just live it out as a Titan. And then Pollard, obviously, feel like the Cowboys aren't going to let him go. There's no viable replacement waiting in the wings like Tajay or something like that. So,
Yeah, I'm those are definitely the biggest names on the list there, and you could throw Swift in as like the sixth. Well, I don't think Derrick Henry ends up in Tennessee next season. I think he goes to a competitor. I don't know. I don't know why you would just unless you just had that blind loyalty to Tennessee and were really, I mean, they just had that come from behind win. You never know. But I see them rolling with Tajay. They're getting him more involved in the offense. They're throwing 70-yard passes to him now, all kinds of crazy stuff. I think that's just where they want to go. And they're a young rebuilding team anyway, or at least they need to be. It makes sense to let Derrick Henry go somewhere where he can compete to a championship or for a championship. Jacobs, I'm with you. That one's an enigma to me. I think not really sure what's going to go on with the Raiders this offseason. They may just sell house, so I could see Jacobs not being a part of the plan. I'm with you on Barkley. I think Barkley stays. I think Tony stays in Dallas, but I don't. I think they bring in somebody either through the
oh,
draft
yeah.
or through free agency to compete with him. And I do think Eckler's gone, and I'm with you on Swift. There's three more names that I do think are on the last year of their deal that I do think are worth mentioning. Antonio Gibson, you mentioned earlier, I think was on the
Mhm.
last year of his rookie deal. AJ Dillon also on the last year of his rookie deal, and then Zach Moss deserves to be spoken about with the way he's played in replacement of Jonathan Taylor. He's also a free agent. But I have four more relatively big names that are potential cut candidates given their contract. So Aaron Jones is the first one, 12 million in dead cap, so it's pretty big, and they would only save about 5.4 million. if that's right, even because I got these numbers off Sport Track and they didn't even have a potential out for Aaron Jones. So I kind of did this math on my own. So if that's even exactly how it would work, that's how much it would be. But it seems like he's getting paid quite a bit. It'd be weird, but they did just pay Aaron Rodgers 40 plus $1 million to go play for the Jets. So maybe they do something there. Joe Mixon, I think, is highly likely to be cut. He's only 2.7 in dead cap, but you save 5.7 to do it. So I think he's pretty much gone. James Conner is another guy. I know you
Whoa.
brought him up,
Whoa.
but 3 million in dead cap space, but you save 5.5 by walking away from James Conner. Maybe they don't, but I think that's just potential there. And then the last one I thought would be bigger, but I think he's more likely to get cut in 2025 now, and it's Alvin Kamara. His that team's going nowhere. I'm basing this on like bad teams that why are you paying
Oh
16.7
yeah.
million to Alvin Kamara? But that's his dead cap is 16.7, and you only save
God
2 million to do it. But Sport Track had it as a potential out, so maybe they know something I don't know. But I think you get bigger savings if you do that in 2025. So unfortunately, that hurts my Kendre Miller talk, especially with Kendre being 20, so they even have time to wait for him because he's not
damn.
older. So we may have to wait one more season before Kendre is truly, truly the guy. But those are just four more like pretty big names. I think there's going to be quite a bit of turnover in the running back uh uh I don't know, market or world sphere or whatever you want to call it next
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, and I look for like Singletary's on last year, that
Mm,
might get Pierce back in where he needs to be. We all know like Dalvin's on a 1 year deal, so
hmm.
that'll get out of the way for Brees. And then J.K. Dobbins is on the last year, man.
Yeah,
So I guess James Conner could go play for Baltimore. That'd be okay
that
with
would be
me.
a good spot. Yeah.
I think that's the killer move right there. Well, shit. I mean, we're talking about all these guys, a lot of popping names going out. So I think there's only one thing left to do. I think
Okay.
it's time to go way too early and project our top 10
Ooh, the top 10 running backs, huh?
non-rookie running backs for
Okay.
2024.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, that'll be fun. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Oh, sure, man. It's in no particular order. So I'll throw a name out. I'm sure you'll have it. You throw a name out, we'll just go like that. All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
So Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I've got him at number one. I have my top 10 as being a huge turnover year, a lot of newish names at the
Okay.
top of the pecking order, but until he's away, I don't think you take CMC off that list. So yeah, I actually have him at one still next
Okay.
year.
Yeah, I've got so five guys that are currently top 10 that aren't on my top 10 for next year. So we'll see
I
how
didn't
that
count it out,
concludes.
but we'll see.
I almost had to take my socks off for that one, but okay. Number two. This would be a surprising one. I'm going with Travis Etienne.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I like everything he's doing, man. That team seems to be perfect for him the way it's set up right now.
Yeah, I've got him in the top five, right at fifth there.
Okay.
So I'm with you. I think he's going to keep rolling. I mean, we all loved him coming out of the draft, and now we've seen him after the ACL tear in year one really kind of explode and be the guy we thought he might be. So I think he'll be top five still. I think he'll be really awesome. But I have Bijan it too.
Okay.
I'm buying year two, and like he's starting to kind of increase the way he's playing this end of the year. And I just think we roll straight into next year. We get not rid of Tyler Algier, but we are probably going to get rid of Cordell or Patterson, break it down to just those two guys, and then maybe even Arthur Smith's gone, depending on how the way the season ends.
Yeah.
So, but I got
Shave the
Bijan at
stash.
two.
Cool. I got Bijan at three, man.
Okay.
Cordero is in the last year of his contract.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
with
So,
Spotrax got him at a market value of 5 million. And I'm like,
woof.
what the hell is this? What the
Okay.
hell? He's 32, man. Oh well, it doesn't
Wild.
matter. Good for him. So yeah, I got Bijan at three. All the reasons you're saying. I mean,
Okay.
Tyler Algier is good, but
He's
he
not
Bijan
Bijan.
maybe. So
Truth.
so who's
So
your number three?
I got Brees. I got
Okay.
Brees Hall at number 3. I think full year healthy, no training wheels on at the beginning of the season, no wily vet in behind him. I just think we'll ride with Brees. He's shown to be a dual threat back. I think the gap between him and Bijan as the like dynasty RB1 is pretty big, but I don't think it should be as big as it is. I think Brees Hall is really, really good.
Yeah, me too. I just traded him for Bijan, so my
I mean,
heart's
I would probably still
completely
do that,
destroyed.
but
But it's like there's no winner and there's no loser in that trade yet.
I don't
So
think so. Yeah.
um I got Brees 4. So
Okay.
you'd see I've just moved Travis Etienne in a weird spot. And really it's because Etienne seems to like fit like a glove in that scheme. And
Yeah.
these other guys are still waiting for the quarterback, still waiting
Hmm.
for the scheme to fully develop. So
Hmm.
so that's where that all goes down. But
Gotcha. So Brees at 4. Well,
yep.
talking about guys that fit into their scheme like a glove, I've got Devon Achan at number 4, actually. I think we're gonna ride into next season, if we're healthy, and be awesome next year. I think we're gonna absolutely explode.
Okay. I put him at 10.
Okay.
So, and this is purely because I think that offense is just gonna still involve enough Raheem, enough
Okay.
of a balance. But dude, if they're popping and he's healthy, like both those guys could be top 10,
Yeah, I mean
no
he's in
question
the
about it.
top 5 for fantasy points per game still. I mean, I know he's had the
Yeah.
weird year with injuries and whatever, but I think he just fits into what Mike McDaniel's exactly what he wants out of his running back, exactly what they want to do. They beat everyone with speed, and I just think we could see it explode next year. We've seen it enough that if they just keep him healthy. Now that is the problem, undersized a little bit, but I don't know. I like it next year a lot.
Heck yeah, man. So that he's your number 4, and then
Yep.
Etienne's your number 5.
Yeah.
Okay. But so Jonathan Taylor
Okay.
is number 5 for me.
Gotcha.
So now we're gonna switch, and he's your number 6.
He's my number 7, so he's
Oh
right
no.
right under there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we all know the story there, and
Hmm.
there's a large potential for Richardson to be doing YOLO shit in the red
Hmm.
zone and
That's
just
fair.
undercutting Jonathan Taylor's touchdown numbers, but you never know. I mean, this guy is amazing, and you
Hmm.
know what it is with him. He's definitely struggling to stay healthy these days, but when you're running back in the NFL, you're taking hits, man. You're pushing your body, so hopefully he can rehab and get it all squared away. They got that contract set up for him to just
Yeah.
not have to worry about that and
Hmm.
just put it all out on the field. So yeah, I think so. That is my number 5.
I'm
Um,
I'm right there with
well,
you. I think he may have a little bit more of boom and bust weeks than we're used to
sure.
seeing out of a guy like him because of Richardson, similar to say DeAndre Swift, except at a way better level. Just because like sometimes when Jonathan Taylor maybe should have a 2 touchdown game, he might get 1 to none because Richardson takes one of those rushing touchdowns away from him. So instead of he's got 80 yards and a couple catches, and he should have 24 points because he could have 12 more points because 2 touchdowns, but that gets taken away. So you end up with like 8 points. I could see that kind of stuff happening to him. But I still think he'll just be like that's such a dual threat out of the backfield that you don't know how to stop in theory. And I think it's going to work super well. I mean, they were doing it with Zach Moss with Anthony Richardson, so I think they can do it with Jonathan Taylor. So I'm there with you. I think I have him right at 7. But it's not, super early, way too we're talking minuscule differences here, but I have Jameer Gibbs at 6.
Okay.
I think he's gonna get the ball more frequently. He's looked great. He even looked great this past week in a loss to the Bears whenever he got the ball. So I think we just roll into next year, really have him as the Alvin Kamara type guy, and just really, really feed him the ball because he's been explosive with it. He's been electric, just kind of what we've seen. He just hasn't gotten the workload. And I think you'll still have David Montgomery there. Um, who will take some of it away, and you might have some frustrating weeks again, but I think it'll be a lot better, and I think he'll end up in the top 10.
Okay, yeah, yep. I've got him at 7.
Oh,
Yeah, for all the reasons that you said, and for some of the things that you alluded to, I had to circle back and mention my number 6, Alvin Kamara, baby.
okay.
Yeah, full season, no suspension. Keep it cool during the Pro Bowl this year, buddy. And yeah, let the Saints do what they do, which is overload you and try to make Taysom Hill a thing.
That's fair. Yeah, I probably should be. I think that's the Kendre Miller love in me trying to fight its way to the top and keep him, but I'm sure he'll be around this area because he's just an animal, man. He can't be stopped.
Yeah, he's
Um,
currently running 5th after missing that 3 games, so he's all right. He's
Jesus.
doing all right.
He's okay. So yeah, that takes me to 8. And this is where I started to get a little interesting. I actually went James Cook here. I think I was a little out on James Cook, and I've the few times I've watched him, I think he looks really, really good. And I do think he can actually be the RB1 there and just be consistently that guy. I think they might kind of retool this offense, and he seems to be more of a focal point now that they got rid of the offensive coordinator and have been moving on anyway. And I like him. I maybe was out on him. I don't know that he's going to be like a guy that you can use for 5 to 10 years, but you could use him for 3 to 4, I think. And I like him for next year.
Yeah, I actually have him at number 8, you know. I think
Oh,
he's
okay.
currently 14th this year, so
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit less confusion to start the year and yeah,
I think
yeah, I
that'd be
think
big
he's
for him. I think he's
I'm
earned it.
into
I
it.
think he's earned the right to go into next year as the RB as the guy.
Yeah, he's not Dallin's little brother anymore.
No.
No, he's out there. He's a bulldog, man. So getting
I
after
think
it.
so we both had him at 8 then.
Hmm.
Okay, so then I actually think the guy I have at 9 has earned one more season as the guy as well. And I actually have Rashad White making another appearance next year. I believe in it. Maybe not super, super long term, but again, it goes back to the Bucks like why okay, we had this guy. Let's just ride this guy again and improve other pieces of our offense and the rest of our team. And they're a team. Let me find their like cap for next year. I don't think that they're all set up well for that. And so if you have a guy that you already trust, he already knows the offense for you. There's no reason to get out of him to me. And I think you could get one more year out of him. Actually, they're doing pretty well in cap space, 47 million projected next year. So they should be all right there. I just think they got to make a lot of moves. I don't see running back being a top one. And I think you could see him still like he's going to get the receiving work. He seems to have a nose for the end zone and they like using him down there. And I just think he might be one of the few recurring Tampa Bay pieces next year.
Yeah, him and Mike Evans, baby. My daughter's awake. I can hear her. I've got I've got Brian Robinson at
Hey.
9, dude. I had to get weird. No, I like what you're saying about Rashad, but when you look at a depth chart with like Chase Edmonds and
Hmm.
Keyshawn Vaughn and Sean Tucker, it's like there's so much of an opportunity for just like anybody to come in
Hmm.
and just spell him in a way that kind of diminishes his fantasy um status just by purely not getting that top 5 volume. If
Hmm.
you can get somebody else in there that's serviceable, but I'm not going to go too deep on Brian Robinson. I think I hit that pretty hard. You know, no Gibson, surprisingly efficient in the
Efficient.
pass
Yep.
and good runner. And I do think if Eric Bieniemy is still there, that he's going to find a way to take him even further to the next level, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it. I mean, it's hard to argue with anything you're saying. I think he'll be around the top 10 next year for sure. I don't see they're another team. I don't see bringing in another running back. Although they, I think, are set pretty well for so if they wanted to, they could bring in whoever they wanted. But I'm with you. I think Brian Robinson has another year. Again, not a guy I think will have a long, long career for you, but could have a decent little stretch for you. Um, And this will probably be my biggest flag plant here at number 10. Because you already said who you had at 10, right?
Yeah, Devon.
Devon Achan. Yeah. So this is contingent, but if Derrick Henry's gone, I've seen enough, dude. I'm going Tajay Spears. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I think he'll be awesome next year. And Vrabel likes to rely on a one guy. Tajay's proven that he's a player in the NFL. Maybe he can't take the full workload, and that's something we might find out next year. But he has been a difference maker on an offense that doesn't have a lot of difference makers. I mean, Derrick Henry's still been the guy. He's a top 10 running back right now. Obviously, he's been that dude. But every time Tajay touches the ball, it seems like it's a highlight play. I don't think they need to spend money on Derrick Henry next year. There's no point. They're not going to win the Super Bowl next year. I think you give Will Levis some speed, some athleticism, and some electricity to build around and play with and try to make him the best version of Will Levis that you can. And I think Tajay helps that. I really do. And I think that's how you build it. You see what you have in Levis next year. You go similar to what the Packers did this year, where you have a super, super young team and just write it out, see who's good, see who's worth it, and then build from there. Maybe they do out of loyalty if they keep him. Obviously, Tajay's not going to touch the top 10. But he's just been awesome this year. And I really do think if he is the guy next year, I think he has top 10 potential.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first for sure. I love it, dude. Everything you're saying about him is evidence in the stats and just the explosiveness. So I got nothing to poo-poo on you, my friend. So but I guess we can circle back to the five guys I have outside the top 10 that are currently in the top 10. Your list is the same, except you've got Rashad White in, but don't have Alvin
Brian.
Kamara.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so the other four guys, Raheem Mozart, we pretty much addressed that by mentioning Devon A.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Joe Mixon, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not cutting the mustard. Derrick Henry, definitely been highlighted there. And Tony Pollard, man, just I don't know. I was never in on him. He's doing okay, but he's not like he ain't the Tony that we were hoping for.
Yeah, big time.
So look for a competition to hold him back. So yeah, I mean nothing crazy to say. That I don't know. Good talk though.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. So if you enjoyed that, we will be back next week with a wide receiver similar episode to this, I'm imagining, right? Unless I'm
Oh
overstepping.
yeah.
But so if you like this kind of free-flowing conversation, hopefully you did. We're gonna be hitting it and maybe talk a little playoff stuff, talk about what's going on. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Deuces.
I took a